I think we are all aware 150 million plus mobile internet users, 70 million are smart enabled. Out of these 150 million, that's very important because later on in the presentation I'll talk about some benefits that brings, which were not existent when this number was not as high. So let's say today we are sitting at around 100 million smartphone users. That number is only going to go up. We'll have around 180 million mobile internet users, out of which maybe 130 will be smartphone enabled. Everybody, obviously, old story, everybody's gone mobile first, right from content and also to transactions. But then I think, like in terms of all of this growth that has come onto mobile, when we talk about how really are we driving, let's say, growth and acquisition, and what is the role that programmatic has played so far, especially when we're talking about an app-only kind of an environment really becoming prevalent today, right? It's clearly not by capitalizing on programmatic. What has been happening so far in the online ecosystem is that it has been a lot about retargeting and a lot of reuse of, let's say, last visit data, which is where programmatic has played a big role, right? But when it comes to app installs and really driving, let's say, the first time user growth and getting people onto your platform, today, if I use the word RTB loosely to, represent programmatic right now. But how much how many installs, if I do, let's say 100 installs, how many installs really come from an RTB or programmatically enabled ecosystem? The answer is today very little. It's maybe only 30% of that is coming from the RTB enabled or programmatic ecosystem. A lot of what is coming is actually coming from what we know as the rewards or incent ecosystem, right? And I'm sure that everybody here, will agree that a lot will need to change. Like, while this is great in terms of user growth and user acquisition, when it comes to revenue and revenue growth, right, things are not going to be the same. You will not be able to do the same kind of growth if this kind of a mix is kind of maintained, right? So increasingly, then immediately it begs the question that, okay, why is it that programmatic is not contributing to such a high number, right? And I think, when we look at it, there is, and when we talk about programmatic, there are so many systems and so many platforms out there, and pretty much anyone can pass off as anything, right? A DSP could be an SSP, an ad network could be an ad exchange could be an ad network, and so on. Right now, if we look at, and the other perspective is that whenever people are thinking about programmatic, they tend to think about buying cheap, right? The first answer to programmatic is that, possibly an inventory that would cost me 200 CPM. Otherwise, I should be able to buy it at like a 50 CPM or something like that, right? And that is where probably a large part of the problem is emanating from, right? When you do a campaign on a Facebook or a search, if you are amongst the best of brands, which means you're a high visibility brand, let's say like a Flipkart, Myntra, Amazon, and Snapdeal, you can probably get away with a CPI on a Facebook and search, which is anywhere between 80 to 120 rupees. But if you're not any of these brands, you are likely north of 100 rupees in terms of installs, and that number, kind of just keeps on going higher. When you talk about the 70% of installs, they are primarily being driven at 35 rupees, right? Now, to achieve a 35 rupees or a 45 rupees, what you need to realize is, the quality of users, etc., that you will get, and where can programmatic really kind of help change that? First realization is that, it's probably, we need to look at programmatic not first as price, but as a very, very different approach. So programmatic is not about buying cheap, but programmatic is to, again, everybody's talking about data, right? So let's say the way to look at programmatic is first data, right? And when it comes to mobile, there is something very, a very significant change that takes place, right? And what is that? There is a reliable identification, right? With the device IDs like IMEI, Android ID, IDFA, etc., what becomes possible is that I can accurately identify a user and not just based on what was last visited, right? So far, what is programmatic done? It's, let's say, it's highly used in the retargeting space, saying that the user dropped off on this page, so let me show him back the product where he was last seen, right? What mobile allows you to do, what mobile programmatic allows you to do is not just use last visit data, but lifetime visit data, right? So I know this user's entire journey from the time this user came onto my app till the time that they've actually made a purchase and when I see them out in the ecosystem. So with this, so when I have, let's say, consistent long-term data, can I utilize or think about programmatic as the first means to start acquiring that data? And then based on the data that is acquired post-install, right, marketing to this consumer. And but then, then again there is a challenge that there are so many systems out there that how do you really kind of bring it together? Like there is Facebook, which probably doesn't give you enough data. There is Google, which again also will have data within their own walled systems. You'll have many other platforms that will be there where you can acquire users, right? And then again, you are also using different systems to track. So you're using one system to track what is happening. You're using multiple systems to buy based on that data. So you're saying that you're looking at the data and you're saying, you know what, okay, this channel doesn't seem to be performing, so let's switch it off and start off another channel and so on and so forth, right? And when it comes to optimizing, you are hoping that each channel is optimizing for themselves. So Facebook is optimizing the CPI. Let's say, a Criteo is optimizing their own CPI and so on and so forth. So whether it is an ad network trying to optimize, whether it's an affiliate network or an affiliate app, it is individual systems that are trying to optimize. In effect, what is happening is that you are not building any layer on top where all the data intelligence that you have post-install can actually be used across the channels where you are advertising and optimize for that. So how do you kind of deal with having a scenario where there are so many machines? You build a machine which is your own, right? You build yet another machine, but hopefully one that actually is not about just buying cheap. It's not about being intelligent from one end. So usually what happens is that, we look at, okay, contextual, where is the user visiting, what is he doing? But that's not important or as important as what the user has done once they've come onto your app. So based on, actually where the user is almost irrelevant. Why? Because who the user is, what he has done previously is what is important, and finding them anywhere in the ecosystem is important, right? And you need a machine that will ideally collate your entire ecosystem of supply and optimize that, right? And not just individually. Essentially what we are saying is that programmatic needs to be looked at data, so not just, let's say, behavioral data, but attribution data, which is like post-click, purchase data, sales and conversion data, and then utilizing that to optimize, wherever you show this user an ad or wherever you engage with this user. So Affle runs a platform called the Mass platform, essentially intended to do that. It has a centralized procurement channel which connects not just the affiliate ecosystem and the direct apps, but the entire RTB and exchange ecosystem. We are working to even integrate, let's say, Facebook Ads API, Google and Twitter. Essentially, what it will give you, and then there is the entire attribution piece in terms of, let's say, where did the user see my ad? So let's say, can I use programmatic to go and show ads only on cases where I have a device ID visible, and I don't choose to show this ad otherwise, which means that I'm able to get a view through attribution because I know exactly who saw my ad and then went on to go and purchase. Whether it was from last click or from that view can actually be substantiated and allocated to that particular source. And then optimizing. So imagine a dashboard which looks like this, where every channel where you're running a campaign, you're able to set up campaigns on a Facebook, you're able to set up campaigns on Google, you're able to set up campaigns on Twitter, not just set them up, but the performance data from any of these channels is put together and reflected on one system, and this one system allows you to switch on, switch off, change bids, put rules, and optimize an overall campaign objective, and not just do it individually, and again reutilize data from as many channels in as many supply sources as possible. Right? So that's what we are building, what we have built partially, and and building out as we go along. We have already integrated Facebook. We will be integrating Google and Twitter shortly. And imagine a use case where you're saying that today you're having to use, let's say, a Facebook interface, a Google interface, a Twitter interface, but three things may remain common: age, gender, and city. Imagine that these are the only three things that you fill, and campaigns get created automatically on Facebook, Twitter, and Google. They get created in thousands of ad sets, and then the entire system optimizes whichever ad set works to deliver the objective that you have, whether it's a CPI or a sale, and so on and so forth, right? So that's where we think we would like to utilize and see programmatic go. So it's not just RTB, but how can we make this entire play of, let's say, app installs and everything, come together and really, programmatic, use programmatic from a data-first model. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anurag.